What's going on YouTube? It's your buddy Will from WhatsUpInTheSky37 channel or www.whatsupinsthesky.com, and welcome back to number 2 video in the RockNest series. Last night I posted my first of one where we went over the number 1 anomaly. So if you haven't seen that video yet, why don't you please go ahead and pull that one up. It's the RockNest Curiosity Rover number 1 of 4. And this is going to be 2 of 4. As you can see, we've got some interesting stuff coming up, especially on the next 2 videos, and this one as well. We're going to see things such as the bird, the overhang, which overhangs, more machinery, the horse is in this one, all sorts of good stuff. So instead of wasting time and talking, let's just get right on into it, and let's take a look at these back structures again like we did in the first video. These we're just going to, since they're so blurry, we're just going to briefly take a look at them and notice the how structured they are. Look at the symmetry in the blocks. Like here looks to be a perfect square, and this is way far out in the distance. So I would say that this is I can't give you the exact scale because they didn't give the exact scale, but I would imagine these to be pretty big structures, very well sized. If you watch my other video, you know that what I believe is that Mars was a fully functioning planet and most likely had some sort of catastrophe, flood, asteroid, nuclear, something happened there, and basically you're left with what looks like a bunch of rubble, similar to events after bombings. Hiroshima, 9/11, the rubble afterwards in the areas that the bombs and towers fell, where Hiroshima was, where a nuclear bomb went off. So I mean, basically we're looking at the same type of stuff. So up here, like I said, what I look at for the anomalies, there's things such as the symmetry here. See how these look to be cut. They follow the land, the lay of the land. Um, and I think that basically a lot of this stuff is buried in there pretty good. Some of it, what we're basically seeing is the very tippy top of what is a buried civilization under it. You see certain beams that are coming out sideways, different ways. So once again, I won't drill too much on this. Let me drop the color so you can take a look at that and see that that is in fact there. And when you add the color, it definitely makes it pop. You can see it. To me, you see it a lot better. And so I use purple in this one for most of the stuff. Um, that way I could basically, what I did was I went into all your guys' videos, and thank you guys for sending them. And as you see, these long planks here, they're right here as well. They're basically strewn about. Let's see here. Once again, I could have colored this in the same way. You're going to get the same looking anomalies as we had on the other one. Same thing with up here. We're looking at, like I said, this top. You're getting the real long strips. What seems to be a perfect dome circle here, and then another long strip of wood. It looks like it's got the dark edges, so it looks like it's been cut really fine. Up here, which you've got basically a little baby. This looks to have maybe possibly been a little structure with a path through it, with some more of these little blocks on top of it. Very cool looking blocks. Let me see how far over we've gotten that at the top. I think, yeah, I didn't go too much for. Here we go. And this was cool to me too. This looked like a big Sphinx head or something like that. More like a big ducky alien head, but let me drop that. See that? I mean, that's pretty well defined here. Let me see if I can't use my mouse. And oops, let me edit. I did that last time. I moved some stuff the wrong way. And we're gonna move that. Yank the background. Let's see what it looks like when I just do an auto tone on it, or an auto color. See if that pops more for you. You can see it really well. To me, that's pretty. I mean, that could be objective either way. I see it. Let me know what you think down below if you see that. I call that man a little ducky man. It definitely looks like something to me. Up here looks to be sheet metal, stuff that's been worked over. I mean, this whole place, see, I knew I had gotten that one up there. And up here looks like some more sheet metal, how it's just laid out. Let me kill the purple on these right here. Take a look at it. Just more of the long rocks. They look to have different sizes, like they may be carved out. Some of this stuff just looks like things like totem poles and things like that. It's just really interesting spot on Mars. And as we go down more, it gets closer, you're going to see more and more and more of this stuff. So let's go ahead and let's kill some of the red here, and as well as there. And let's take a look at this right here. This is another what seems to be buildings that are just laid out. As you can see over here, the block on the next one we'll get into the next go around. But this whole strata runs this whole area here, and you've got what looks to be, I keep calling them stratas, but basically I'm thinking this is buildings of some sort. And like I said, this was maybe a foundation for something. You can see how thick this was, and it seems to be in the air. And you seem to have certain things that are just kind of around it. So let's start at the, see how far this goes over and just keeps on continuing. And look at the actual, the symmetry in these rocks. Stuff that looks like it was either carved in by hand. So I think that's as far as we go. So let's start here with this right here and take a look at some of these. Um, I'm pretty sure I would have. I'm surprised I didn't get that one. Yeah, I did. So I'm surprised I didn't get that. Let's take a look at some of these right here and pop the color on it. What just looks to be perfect cylindrical. They've got holes in it. Watercolor. Up here, this thing up here looks to have two rounded areas in it that are curved off. Once again, you've got the same symmetry here where the blocks are cut basically in the same sizes. This looks to be protruding out from it a little bit, like this is more forward with that whatever this is here, and this here seems to be smoothed off, and then you get an area that looks like it's been kind of chopped and destroyed. And what I'm going to do here, since that does seem to help, I'm going to go ahead and do this whole area and see if we can't get that whole area to pop a little bit more, since I want to look at that pretty much this whole thing across and see if we can't do the auto color on it and pull it out a little bit more and see it. Alright, image, auto color, cha-ching. Look at that. See how the auto color, it knows that they've put that dirty color on it and it just removes it right away, and it looks more like the beaches here. And when it removes it, look how much easier you can see some of this other stuff, like these circles. This looks like a spaceship or plates that have just been buried, you know, this way and buried straight into the sand here. Perfect circles. Just areas of what looks like, if you remember from the last video, the areas of machines that look like they were destroyed. Now look at the color of this too. It looks like this was some sort of foundation with some sort of concrete on it. Look how this comes out. Look how it comes out to a perfect, like a nose here. Not a nose, but it just comes, you know, it's perfectly sets out like this end of a crab would. Have you seen a Maryland crab? I'm from Maryland, we got Maryland crabs. Up here, this up here looks, the only thing on earth I can get to look like this are twigs and stuff like that. Wood objects that look like this. When I take pictures and try and put this filter on them, I've got my new Mars filter. I'm gonna make some videos on that too. So, but look at this as you come across this here, and we're gonna keep looking at this right here looks to be some sort of machine or some, let me pull it up a little bit more there. See how it's got different levels of it, and this is a very small piece of, and wait till we start seeing when I get to the other side what's there. But look how the chunks have just fallen off of this. See how it looks like they've fallen off. This up here looks like it's fallen straight down, and a lot of it still has how smooth the top was. And then look at these, look how these beams just come straight across like they were built for it or pulled out of a rock somewhere, you know, taking what they need. These definitely look like some sort of either ship or some sort of building. See how it's got the, okay, check this out. See how it's symmetrical too. This piece is cut, this here is kind of rounded off. And if you look at this up close, you'll see that this has like a kind of like a garlic knot twist in it. And it just so happens, I mean, these are perfectly spaced above this. This looks to be some sort of ship. If you look at this right here, it looks to be that type of thing. It even looks like it's been derelict and it's been sitting there for a while, but you see some sort of the cuts here with the beams that have the same angle. 1, 2, 3, 4 is what I can make out of that one. But it does look kind of rounded, like that would be part of it. Let me see if I had given it color. I could have dropped that part off of it with the color. Let's see. Oh. See how that part is there, but so let's keep on moving over and see what we've got. So just the whole symmetry of that area, and right here we've got more of the stuff that's just laying there. Like, was this one huge wrapped around building? that would have things like stairs that went up it. See how this kind of looks like a little staircase to go up into the foundation here? So if we're looking at this like maybe a foundation or something that's derelict, a ship or something along those lines, maybe the war or something had happened during it that made everything look like this. I mean, it just looks like it's just a metal slag that's been thrown everywhere. Look at this right here. This is either something that's in like a piece of sheet metal here. See how it's sticking up and it comes up and it's blocking the view here. Here's more of it right there. Just very and then what do we have here? Let's see this. We've got the perfect angles here, and then once again, look at this. It's attached from the top here. It comes down and attaches to the bottom level there, almost like stairs would do if, say, these were stairs to go up. Maybe this was some sort of mechanism, but imagine that making a 90-degree angle all on its own like that, just randomly from the stuff being thrown around. Um, to me, this is just a perfect of a lost civilization, something that was there. Let's see as we keep moving over the perfectly rounded. When you see the well, I like when I see the what looks to be that shading because I know that it's been worked. You know, it looks like it's a lot of care has been put into it. Um, these over here, once again, are pretty cool. Let me see if I can give it a little bit of the color again. Instead, this whole area, when you get color, you can start to see how even where it looks like it's just rocks or just rubble, you've got symmetry in the patterns. You've got, you know, perfect 90-degree angles. You've got pathways, what looks like things that are coming together. And as we get over to the end of that there, let's see, this is brightened up so much. And let's see, we still can't see. I brightened it up just a little bit more. Under it, I mean, it looks like it was just chopped right in the middle, and you can see blocks over here. As we keep going, see this, it really starts getting even cooler in 3 and 4. So these videos are going to accept. Sorry if you long said, if you're hanging in these videos, you're one of my subscribers. I love you. Thanks for watching this stuff. I never thought people would watch this long of videos, but you know, it's fun. I'm having a lot of fun making them. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot different than I thought it was going to be. Usually I sit here and talk for a really long time, a couple of minutes, 15 minutes, and I get out of breath. But this has been really neat. So I hope you enjoy it. And I've always wanted to go back to this picture and do this again. And thank you guys so much for the stuff that's brought in. I wouldn't have been able to do this without you guys. I went back and looked at all your emails and got your anomalies you had sent over. The only thing I haven't really looked at are what people are calling humans. They see humans in here. It's one of those things that I can't see it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not there because you know we all see you know what we see. So anyway, there's another perfect what looks to be rounded type cylindrical object that's got some sort of hole in one end and then just a bunch of stuff strewn about. More of these slags that are just laying up in the air. Wait till I give that a little color there. See how that just looks like it's something that was just cut or metal or slagged. It was just poured out of something like it was something was just strewn. A bomb came in and just threw that out, and as it hit, it just disintegrated right there from heat or whatever what was doing it. When I look at this stuff, I mean that's all I can think of is probably something, you know, heat had done this and maybe some water too to help cover some of this stuff up. Let's see now. And as we come through, I'll leave some just more artifacts, long cylindrical things that blend in perfectly with the background if you don't add the color. You don't really get a chance to see them. Stuff like this just looks like, you know, random muck that's just put in. Let's see what else we've got here. As we move right along. All right, we'll come back to this here in a second because we're going to keep moving along the same path this way so we catch everything. Once again, you've got more stuff on top, and you can see the patterns in it there. Let me go ahead and pop. See it? I mean, some of these are probably small. I should make them a little bit bigger on my screen for you. I'm hoping you're watching this in HD. And we're going to come back over to this, because once again, you've got more and more of these perfectly cut out areas. Let me see if I've gone over this part or not so far. Okay, well here, we'll start right here. And basically come down from here and go across. So let's look at some of these up here. And now we're looking at, again, like I said, just big slabs. We're going to watch it's all been shaped. It runs across. You couldn't ask for a better picture. See, when I drop the color, you can still see the blocks. See how they're built there. They're not standing, they're not protruding. They look like they've been there for years. Well, it looks like layers, terracing, something along those lines. Whenever you have something that's buried in the ground, sometimes it comes up. There's perfect angles, and it looks like the block just gets buried in, like it was thrown in the air and then brought down, kind of like Pumapunku and places like that here in the, in on our world, stuff we can look at and say, wow, some of this stuff looks like that. Um, and when you add the colors to this stuff, you just get more and more. You can actually see more of the circles that come up. That looks like the shaping of it that you just wouldn't see. I don't think if you really took the time to do it. So once again, that's perfect when it comes to perfect angles here, perfect boxes, what looks to be things on top of it, um, stuff that's been thrown in. It's just too cool. And now I know this down here is going to be the red part, and we want to look at some of these rocks. And okay, here we go. Starting with this one, just a big slab, perfect slab right here. Take a look at it. I'm going to kill the thing. And see it there? It's been worked perfectly at the top. It looks like it was rounded perfectly. The edges have been look like they're torn from something up. Let me go ahead. I'll take that. Bring it back down to the regular color. Okay. And once again, you've got more blocks. See how they've all one, two. See how they've all been kind of worked and they've all been moved together. You have this one right here. It almost looks like the back of a Corvette. A block right here that's just sitting there perfectly. Another one that runs across here and goes down. It's been shaped. It looks like that's been shaped perfectly. This here has the perfect rounded shape. And look how it just, right here, it just gets buried in the sand. Um, this right here, I'm not sure what this is. This is pretty cool. Let me see if I had given it the color. Just a very interesting looking anomaly. Where's the other buildings? I had a lot of that color together, so it would pop out. Um, And once again, we start getting what look to be these off-colored rocks. They're just out of place. They look like it almost could be some sort of metal, or just were worked at one time. See how this looks to have perfect working on it, where it looks like somebody had carved that out, and maybe this fit in perfectly. See, I could see this being the bottom of maybe a step pyramid or something here, or because if you look, you can still, like say, you see these things like this that are just kind of thrown up over it in slag. It just kind of hangs over, and you're going to see that a couple more times in number 2 here. I mean, let's look how this all happens. Look at these, the things coming down. As it comes down, it makes these perfect little indents that seem to be pieces of something. They almost look like ramps of some sort. I wonder if I had, yeah, I did that. I knew I got those because they look very anomalous to me. Um, and once again, the other stuff is just laying here on top. It looks like at one point it went airborne, and where it settled is where it settled. The dust and the wind came. And let's take a look at this one without the color in it, because I'm interested in the circle areas here, and what seem to be around the edges that seem to have perfect symmetry, and what seem to be more blocks, more squares, more rectangles. Here looks to have a perfect, I don't know how to explain that look to it, but it's very interesting to me. And once again, we get more and more of these blocks that look like they were blocked out perfectly, set up shop, and went airborne. They look like at one point a lot of them had bevels. Like look at this rock here. You can see that it fit in with another rock somewhere, and it had a bevel around the outside of it. Once again, you get these very long blocks. Almost look like there's perfect circles here. Look at this perfect circle. I'm not sure if I had gotten that or not. Yeah, it's there. And right under it, you see it as well. Um, with more of this stuff, more of these long cylindrical objects just sitting out there on the surface, doing nothing, just sitting there. Here it looks like it was entrance to something, or still could be. See how like you could walk down in that thing, or possibly at one time, but it definitely looks to be carved out. I mean, that looks like a perfect rounded object, and looks like this could be a well of some sort if it was. And equating it to what I see here is just in my head what I see on this planet. God knows what that is, but that definitely looks to be worked. Like it was either cracked, or it even looks to have a little, some little icon or something on the side there, possibly on the outside of it. And let's get that, wiggle that mouse a little bit so it wakes back up. And as you keep going, you just keep seeing the long blocks and see how they're perfectly rounded out and smooth. What looks to be statues, statue heads. This looks to be the head of a statue that's just been dropped. Um, like, see ya, here you go. Um, Here we're going to get into some of the, what looks to be, see how when it comes to the edge, you've got all the Martian dirt there, but then you get to really see the color of it, what looks to be the color of metal on these edges here, that bluish rock, or that bluish what looks to be metal to me. And because of that, you can see like up here where this sits out here, this looks to be metal as well. um, but look at this here, how this is carved. This comes up, let me show you with the color a little bit. Can you see that, how perfect cylindrical that is? It starts here. It almost looks like it's a something that comes perfectly up, and you could unscrew this cap right here. Say you'd unscrew it counterclockwise, and you could gas something up. I mean, it almost looks like that. Look how it's got a line that runs, like a line running away from it down into this stuff here. This looks like a slag of something, like concrete, something that they had built that's got lines running through it. You can see certain pipes coming out of these all over the place, and it's so it hangs over places, like it got so when it was drying, it got so pulled, like it was pulled like taffy and hanging over some of these. I mean, look at look at this stuff just laying out here, how it sits, and let me see if I can't give me some of that back. I mean, look at this piece right here, which just seems to be a piece of sheet metal or something, just kind of strewn across. I mean, you don't really see how it's there. It's defined. You know, you can see it, and once you add that, it does look much easier to see. Once again, you have this real long strata there. Um, and we start getting down into some of these more creepy things sitting here, just kind of like heads or whatever they look like. They look stuff that was been hatched out of. Once again, you get that look of, see the sheet metal, how it's above, there's shadow below it. It's got something connected to the top of it. Once again, you've got more of these just pillars that are perfectly shaped and sitting in the ground at different angles. This looks to be things that were just, this stuff was airborne at one time, and it just happened to skip along and end up here along this route. Um, See how this has got the lines in it? Let me pull up the color a little bit and show you. See how this looks to be something at one time, part of a statue, part of something. Um, this rock is sitting here awfully odd, just kind of just sitting up. Uh, and then let's look at some of this stuff here, because we're getting into that areas where this again looks to be something like technology under here, where you've got perfect lines coming out, and it goes to other lines, and they seem to connect between the two things. You've got something here that looks like a ball with a perfectly rounded sphere on it. Like if you almost, if you turned it upside down, that would look like your classic ball UFO, or classic flying saucer that you would see here on Earth, that people say they saw. And then you've got this rock just kind of tall sitting there um, next to all this that just has perfect symmetry, what seems to be skull-like features to them. This randomness just thrown about this whole planet here. Um, let's look how that stuff just comes together. We haven't checked this part out. Okay, here we go. We were up to this part right here, because we looked at some of these. These are up here. We were looking at that. As you come down, see how see how this is buried, and it just has, like I said, this has those perfect circles in it, and you get these little things that look like ramps that are coming down off of it. This has some red in it in that picture there. Haven't seen much red on Mars. And as we get down to here, this is where it really starts getting interesting on this stuff. We saw all these rocks that were perfect. Oh, we're sneaking over into two. Um, But let's come here and look at some more of these. These look to be perfectly sanded. Once again, you're going to get what looks to be, this rock was carved at one time. Just looks like a fish to me. That's just what first comes to mind. But as we start rolling across this area right here, we're still going to see more of these ramp-looking objects that that come. But then we're really going to get into here. Here's the bird. All right, let me give you the the color of the bird here. Let me color them on in. All right, so let's get rid of that red. It's not doing us any good. Okay. So as you can see, the beak, the eye, the mouth, and as it comes up the feather. And what's neat about this is I don't, I can tell this wasn't meant to be there, but it's there. It looks like a bird. It looks like it was carved in there as a bird. And granted, if it's, it's cool either way. And look how the feather would come over. And this is to me more of that how it just slagged off this rock, whatever it was, whatever type of rocks these are, if they're even rocks. It seemed to look like metal. See how this down here seems to be pieces of look how perfect look at how it's melted together here, and how it used to be look like something that was perfectly cut. It's been kind of chopped up. Maybe this kind of has the same type of symmetry in it. Um, and all around here, look at the perfect angles, and look at the perfect see, I've kind of colored them in there. See how it's got blocks that look like sheet metal. And you can see as, when I give it the color, follow some of these, how, I mean, there's lots of these perfect squares just right in this area right here that look to be maybe tiles, more of them sitting up here in that area. Rocks like this that just I can't really explain, that look like possible something, maybe even possible wood here. I was wondering. Let's see. This looks like petrified wood of some sort. Something that had all sorts of something inside of it. Let's see what happened. I just lost my pad. There it is. Oops. I want to do background copy. I want to give it a little bit of auto color. Look over that. I mean, that just looks like petrified wood to me, or something like a big ball of machinery that was in the air. The wires are strewn throughout it. They even follow each other, some of them. A slag of concrete, is that the rebar in it? Something like that. One of the cool rocks on this side that I thought that brought my attention at first. Looks like it's got some sort of critter behind it. And where it sits in once again these perfect looking rocks. And this is a great one here, because you can see how the different slabs, looks like a big huge one that goes that way under it. These were all, see how this actually has, where the bird is and stuff. This comes all down here. This is cut out perfectly there with that perfect angles. And then once again, even where the bird tail is or whatever, you get these little slabs that come down, more and more of this. And then check this out right here. This looks like some sort of control panel for something. Once again, this all looks to be cut off. This rock looked like this was here at one time, and some sort of force not only broke these rocks in half, broke this off of there, it was so forceful that it snapped this up here. You can see the color in it. You can see where it snapped off the back rocks here, and where it's done damage to the whole thing. But let's take a look at that box real quick. I'm going to add some color to it. See it? It's just sitting there. Let me give it a little bit more auto color, try and pull it out. You can see it there. It looks like it's got a dial. It's almost a perfect box. Very cool to me. Once again, you've got stuff like this. It just looks like metal. See how it's been worked? It looks like sheet metal. That's just all. The only difference is the sheet metal has a bunch of sand on it and the color that they've added to it. Like as we come across here, we're going to see more and more of it. There's that part right there. Okay, here's this right here, what we were looking at with the symmetry in it. Let me find out where we are in the whole scheme of things here. Okay. Now, I was talking about earlier at the other video, I was talking about shells and stuff like that. And what I kept saying, I kept seeing things like shells. And I've already showed you these that would look like skulls or some sort of, things that were airborne at once. And then once again, you get these perfect, 90-degree cutouts this way, that way, that way, and it's a box. And part of it goes straight that way in a perfectly straight line. And here's what I was talking about, those shells. See how this is hollow? Let me see if I can pull it up big. This looks hollow, like something was in there and cracked that off. Like it used to be a canister and it blew this top half off and it's just everywhere. Um, Here you've got another perfectly beveled rock. See how it's got the bevel back here? It's got the cutout here that's perfect, and it's just sitting in there sideways like it's been thrown around. No big deal, just tossed about Mars in some sort of cataclysm. And that's had to have been what happened here. Something, some sort of cataclysm. Let's see what I've done with the rest of the colors here. See what come over here. Well, this was kind of interesting to me. This little formation here. As we take a look at it a little more up close, it just seems to have a couple rocks on top of a couple more. What seem to be some very cool. This is just the side of a thing. Look how there's two perfect holes there. Look to be the exact same cutout. Here you've got more circles that have been cut out along with the square tiles. More of this that's perfectly square and perfectly hanging in. It's just pointing straight up and out of it. Like I love to see what's on the bottom half of it. See if it's as perfect as that. Let's see where we are with this. Okay. We still got a lot to go down here. Alright, now let me pull across. As you see here, just more and more of what I'm talking about, these really long blocks, and looks like some have reached the surface, some are still here. Check these out. More artifacts on top. Look, see how see how even these small artifacts, when you add the color, you can see the circles and the actual shapes in these little artifacts. There's one right here that's got, it looks like a hollowed out cup. This right here looks kind of just like something that was thrown about the area. Once again, down here we're looking at just what looks to be more and more of these just rocks thrown about the area. As you can see, they've got the symmetry to them. They look to be carved. See how they've got intricacies in them, each one does. And it just looks like at one time this could have been something very interesting, possibly some sort of machinery, something, and it's just been destroyed. I mean, I can't say that enough in this video, is that it looks like Uncle Jake, as Terry says, Uncle Jake's junkyard. This is exactly what it looks like. Anywhere you need something in the earth, or you need something, you go here to find it. Once again, the picture gets blurred up here. Let me go ahead and let me remove this. And like just the whole machine thing, see how it blurs right here? The whole picture blurs out here. That's thanks to NASA. They didn't get that taken care of. Now, once again, here's the horse. Let's take a look at the horse. Let me give it the blue, or the color. See it there? The horse head. It's got eyes, the nose, the mouth, the part of it. This has been cracked off. It looks like this part's been cracked off. And see how it just kind of goes in and has disintegrated. It's got things like this on top of it. That was a cool one. I thought I enjoyed that. I really love that one, that the horse head. Things like this that I thought looked like a pig and looks almost alive to me. For some reason, these were one of the only things that looked alive on this picture. It's a perfectly round. Perfectly round. It looks to have legs here, and a possible head like an anteater, and a snout that maybe is feeding off of this here. If it is a rock, it's been perfectly dug. It's been perfectly rounded off. There's more of these guys over on this picture you'll see on number 3, but that looks like something that might be possibly live still. And if life always existed here on Earth when we've had these big cataclysms, so I would imagine some life did pass through, and no matter if there's no methane or no whatever there's definitely life. We don't know how stuff evolves on other planets. We can hypothesize because we know how life evolves here on Earth, but truly we know nothing of how life evolves on other planets. At least we don't in the public. It's more like the Black Ops probably know a little bit more about it. So I didn't mention that little anomaly up here. Now this seems to be just an old piece of machinery. That this is the perfect rusted down. Looks to have perfect block symmetry to it, something like another rounded scope type piece to it, like we've seen, and it's sitting next to more what looks to be the strata there. Or see how it's got that grayness under there? It looks like it's grated there. It almost looks like a grill of a car right there. And more of these type of machinery looking things like this right here that looks to be something of machinery from the past. See how it's, when we get in close to this stuff, it's got the perfect symmetry on both sides. What look to be, if I cut this right down the middle, this side and this side look almost the same. They got the same cuts, same patterns. They look circles. The circles to me look like tubes, like heads. A lot of this machinery, like I said, looks like a head of a car. If you ever opened up an engine or looked at an engine block and look down in it, and you see the different compartments, and when you stick the head on, it all completes the compartments to the engine block. That's what this kind of looks like to me. That whole area does. Um, and if you can see the different area where they've blurred out up here, to me you can see it. You can still see the blocks. You can still see the perfect circles here. See the spear? Will look to be very nicely rounded rocks here, very polished. Here it looks very polished, and you can't see the rest of what that is. As we continue to move, more and more of these would seem to be just that type of color, that grayish colored metal. Um, Slag is what I'm calling it. I mean, it just looks like something. Uh, you ever taken a fishing? You ever gone fishing and you take one of those? See how this is all slagged over? And you take one of the weights and you add it to the fishing line with a hammer and you smash it, and it just, the weight doesn't look like it used to. It used to be a circle, but then it just kind of, it's just connected. It's fastened to the string, to the line. And it seems like this metal, this looks like the same type of metal, and how it gets smushed and how it just all mashes together in the color. I mean, look how this here seems to be melted as it comes over. It looks like this just melted on over. This was like sheet metal or something like that that just, it had no problem whatsoever coming over and melting there. Um, let's see. More of this as we come up here. More and more of this. I missed a couple things right here. Was cool to me. This little interesting thing here. It looks kind of like a little spaceship. I know that's probably not, has nothing to do. It's probably just another airborne rock here. But once again, it's on this stuff that looks like to have that perfect rounded here, and looks just to be cut into. It gets this blur right as things get interesting. This looks to be a perfectly rounded shape here with a perfect cut. And see how it's blurred out on this picture, and it's blurred out on both the JPEG and the TIFF file. This is the bigger high resolution TIFF. Let me see what else we've got down here. And it also gets a little blurry down here in the bottom of the picture, which is kind of weird to me. But let's see here. Let's take a look at this. See the symmetry in this stuff. And if it looks like this was created by hand, to me, it looks like it was created by hand. And destroyed it somehow. Look, see the perfect shapes in here. See how that's perfectly, carved into it. The bottom part there. As it goes up, you get more of these lines, more of these shapes. And once again, that color, that metal, it looks like it's just kind of melted away. Perfect shape here, like the size of a shoe, the shoe shape there. And then this is pretty cool and interesting too. How it's got that design type look to it. And then as we move across this photograph, you're going to see a lot more of that color as it's over here. There we are. Getting my mouse pad back. Alright, and there was that one slag. And as we come down, another piece like that at the end here looks to seem to have a face on the end of it. Which of course, that's just, I think my eye's doing that, but more and more of this, what looks to be just a perfect slagged out stuff. There's not another word for it. I've been saying that word so much this video, it just looks like slag. And see how it gets, starts getting blurry right here, how it's perfect here, that as the artifacts start coming up, it starts getting a little bit more blurry. Look at that. That's kind of cool looking. This looks like a face in the side of it. And as we roll up, you're going to see more and more stuff like this. There's that one machine looking thing. And what I said about the heads, that looks like the head right there of from a car, just a block. Another perfect spear here. Look at this. Here we go. I knew we had some more of this stuff here. Another perfect spear with a hole in it. and then what seems to be netting or some sort of nest, real nesting that looks here. This is like a nest. See how it's got that symmetry in it. It's in it deep. It goes deep through that whole area. This looks like it was on the top. Like this was something that was left of what was the finished outside part of it. Um, as we move along, we're almost done with part 2. Now we'll give you a quick sneak peek of part 3 and 4, which get even cooler. I love that right there, the horse. And I do believe that about does it for part 2 here. Once again, I'll leave you with that guy right there, my little pig guy. And then the next couple of days, we're going to be getting into the actual machines. Look at these here, cut off. We thought we had machines and heads. Look at that ballast. That looks like a tank. Looks like a scuba diving tank. Perfect circles, perfect cups. These next 2 are really going to start getting even more interesting. I love you guys. If you made it this long, let's see how far you made it in. More and more of these, what look to be, uh, petrified wood and just very more structures, more long planks, more stuff. The mountain we're going to take a look at. There's a lot in these next couple videos. What look to be perfect ruins from a pyramid up here. And over there, what seems to be the water, what seems to be at least the wetness of water at one time. So much love, guys. Take it easy. 41 minutes in, part 2. I will see you at part 3.